Well, the Indianapolis Colts were on the wrong side of history this past week as they lost monumentally to the Denver Broncos, eliminating pretty much any hopes that this team has of making the playoffs. But not only that, but it eliminates any hopes that the Indianapolis Colts have where they currently stand with the future. This is a dark day for the Indianapolis Colts. I think that myself, especially, went in to this season with an incredible amount of positivity, given that even though there wasn't a lot because the Colts didn't sign a lot of people, and there was a lot going on, and just there was a unmonumental offseason. Seemed really good about the draft picks, but man, as we look at the state of the Indianapolis Colts, just looks dark. There's reason for hope, and we're gonna talk about that. What's the reason for hope? What do the Colts have to look forward to? Even though it might seem like there's not a lot, we're gonna cover all that and more on this video. What's going on? It's Elijah from Sports Talk Indy, where we cover all things Colts, the good and the bad, every single day. So when you look at the stat line for this game against the Denver Broncos, it didn't look good. I mean, Anthony Richardson midway through the third quarter was 5 of 17, so once again still not having any success with that completion percentage for 56 yards, 0 touchdown, 1 interception, and a passer rating of 16.3. I think that the Colts had a negative 1.37 EPA per play against the Broncos in the second half. That is the second worst performance of any team in any game since the year 2000, which again just goes to add to how monumentally bad this game was for the Colts. Now, if you look at the first half, the Colts actually looked really good. Colts defense was playing lights out. Bo Nix threw 3 interceptions, and the Indianapolis Colts looked halfway decent. They were 13-7, what should have been 20-7. We're not going to dig on Jonathan Taylor as much as that's one of the stupidest plays I've ever seen in my time of watching football. It's whatever. But there have been approximately 12,000 halves of football played since the year 2000. Offensively, there have been nearly 25,000 different performances seen on the field. Somehow, the Colts managed to produce the second worst performance out of 25,000. The Indy's second half drives, Jonathan Taylor fumble, 3 and out. Michael Pittman Jr. fumble, 3 and out, 3 and out. A.D. Mitchell, pick 6, fumble, return for a touchdown, turnover on downs, interception. So somehow the Indianapolis Colts didn't punt at all. But what is the positive? Because that's what we talked about. What is the positive? And it'll go simply like this. The depth chart is not actually that bad. The depth chart actually looks really good. And I think that for a general manager who hopefully will be able to come in this offseason, pending that Jim Irsay does make what I think we all agree are the necessary changes to this front office. And that the first one is primarily, what do the Colts need to do? The Colts need to fire Ballard. Chris Ballard has been the GM for the Indianapolis Colts for 8 years now, and the Indianapolis Colts have made the playoffs just twice in that time, winning only one playoff game, and then the year that they went with Philip Rivers back in 2020. So the Indianapolis Colts just have not been a successful organization over the course of the past 10 years, obviously having one good season with Luck. But I think that we've hidden behind the mask of Andrew Luck being the problem and what happened with the Indianapolis Colts. Oh, they didn't expect them to retire. That was 5 years ago. Like, let's bury that. But I think one of the biggest things for the Indianapolis Colts over the course of that 8 years is that they have not signed a veteran coach at all in that time. They signed Frank Reich, who was a first-time head coach from the Philadelphia Eagles, who was the offensive coordinator when they went to the Super Bowl. Frank Reich didn't work out. Then they brought in Jeff Saturday for an interim position, who had never been a head coach of any professional league aside from a high school Christian academy head coach for one season. That was it. That's the entire resume of his coaching experiences. Again, not great. And then they brought in Shane Steichen. Now, don't get me wrong. I actually like Shane Steichen. I like him as a person. I like him as a coach. But he's missing, I think, what the key thing is that the Indianapolis Colts team needs. That is being a veteran coach. Shane Steichen obviously was, once again, a offensive coordinator for the Philadelphia Eagles and didn't work out. It was the same year they went to the Super Bowl, so it seems as though If the Eagles go to the Super Bowl this year, expect Kellen Moore to be the new head coach for the Indianapolis Colts next year. But again, I like Shane Steichen. I think he's good. But I think one of the big things is that the Colts need to do is bring in some veteran leadership. I think Gus Bradley needs to go. I think Jim Bob Cooter needs to go. And I would dare say that there's a chance that Shane Steichen needs to go. But I think one of the main things the Colts need to do is they need to bring in veteran leadership, whether that's on the field, whether that's off the field. I think Zaire Franklin is a great leader on the field. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm on the opposite end of where he stands with the whole Pat McAfee dispute. We can get into that in the comments if you like. That's totally fine. But I do think on the field, you can just see that Zaire Franklin is a clear on the field leader. But the other thing that the Colts have is they have a good depth chart. But they also have good chemistry. The locker room chemistry this year has been substantially better than when you look back on years like 2022, of which there were guys betting against their own team. This team, win or lose, seems to be together. They stand by Anthony Richardson through all the mistakes, through all of the problems, and it seems as though chemistry-wise, this is a good team. Now, I also think that if Shane Steichen does stay the head coach for the Indianapolis Colts, it is time to hand over play calling. I think the play calling that we saw against the Denver Broncos was among the worst and has honestly been on a clear path towards just mediocrity as far as play calling goes. So if Shane Steichen does stay, which I think, again, I like him better as an offensive coordinator than a head coach, but I like Shane Steichen if he stays on. I do think it's time for him to relinquish the play calling of this team. I think that this game proves to be a wake-up call, hopefully, for the Indianapolis Colts. Now, I've said that last year about a lot of games that the Indianapolis Colts played, including games where they lost. But I honestly think that with the right coaching and the right development, you have a good team. You have Michael Pittman, who plays well aside from this season. You have Alec Pierce, who has had a breakout year. I think Adonai Mitchell, again, just needs some veteran coaching. They need a guy. Honestly, the name that comes to mind is like guys like Rex Ryan, who are going to shake you a little bit and say, okay, it's time to wake up. It's time to get better. And I think that's what this Indianapolis Colts team needs is some veteran leadership. I also think when it comes to GM, it just really looks like this is what the Colts just need, someone to be able to come in and run this organization. Chris Ballard obviously has not done a good enough job at motivating this team or making the right signings or draftings. He's found some diamonds in the rough, but he's also missed on a majority of his first-round picks in the past 8 years. Now, you can also start to count Anthony Richardson towards that potential miss. Who knows what this guy's going to be like over the next 2 seasons, where the Colts are still under contract to have him. But in the longest stretch that he's had over the course of starting in the NFL, it has not looked good for Anthony Richardson. And he's made some dynamic plays, but he's also made some really bad plays. But we've also seen an NFL quarterback with a below 50 completion percentage through the first 2 seasons turn it around and now play as one of the best, if not the best quarterback right now, which is Josh Allen. Good coaching, good development, and a whole lot of patience is what led to that. The Colts have a lot. They have a lot of draft. They have a lot of draft capital, and they have a whole heck of a lot of cap space. If they're serious about changing this around, there's a lot to look forward to, and a lot they can do really, really well. But it starts with actually making a change, and I think that they can do it. And I think that next season could prove to be a really, really good year for this team.